What's going on, everybody? John here with Mock Motorsport, and today I'm going to be doing a quick video on what to bring with you to the track. So if you've been watching my series, you probably saw the last video where I went over how to prepare or things to do to prepare your car for the track. In today's video, we're actually going to discuss the things that you should bring with you to the track. So I'm going to showcase basically what I carry in my toolbox and some of the other items that I take with me to the racetrack for my track events. All right, let's have a look. All right, some of the things that, aren't tool related that I bring to the track are going to be, kind of a comfort thing. So two items that I honestly recommend that anybody bring when you're going to the track, especially if you're going to spend a full day there, is a collapsible chair, as you can see here. In between sessions, depending on the venue, some places have, concession stands and what have you, while others don't. So it's always good to bring a collapsible chair. They're tiny enough, and obviously you can usually fit it into your vehicle, when need be. The other thing I bring is just beneath it, as you can see there, we've got bubble wrap. Yeah, that's bubble wrap. I actually got that with a package, something that I ordered. I think it was my roll bar for my S2000. But in any event, I bring it and I fold it out, and you're probably wondering why. If you've ever had to work on your vehicle trackside or at the track, it is so much nicer to be able to roll around on the ground on bubble wrap than it is to be rolling around on gravel or dirt. And then if you're wearing a Nomex race suit, you get it all dirty, and then you get your car dirty. I bring the bubble wrap, and it works twofold. It works as a good item to use for me to roll around if I have to get beneath the vehicle, but it also works really well that if you can fold it up and you can use it, and kneel down on it. In an absolute worst case scenario, you can completely unfold it and use it to cover your tools and equipment if it starts raining. Now, moving over, this is pretty basic and standard stuff, jack stands and a good reliable jack. Now, I've opted, you can use any jack really. I've opted for, aluminum hydraulic jack just because it's a little bit lighter, a little less load to carry. And then, of course, jack stands. Anytime you're going to be underneath the vehicle, even if it's for a short amount of time, don't risk it. It's not worth having your head crushed because your hydraulic jack fails. So even if you just bring one jack stand with you, that's often more than enough. And if you don't bring any jack stands or don't own any, don't ever work on your vehicle without actually using a jack stand. Ask somebody. Majority of the time, there are a lot of guys around that have jack stands available. So hydraulic jack, jack stands, perfect. Now the next item, this is optional, but I really like it. I purchased this at Walmart. It was actually a really good deal, and it's on a trolley. It's actually got wheels. It's a 10 by 10 canopy that comes with one shade on the side, which is really nice because when you set it up, I can get practically the entire car beneath it. If you happen to be at an event where it's really, really sunny and really hot, it's a good idea to prop it up. You can sit underneath it to keep cool. You can actually park the car beneath it to keep cool. But more importantly, if you actually have to work on the car or do anything on the car, it's certainly a better option than, especially if it's raining. This is a great alternative to having to work on your vehicle in the rain. All right, so these are just some of the items in terms of comfort and utility that I bring with me to the track. And next we'll move on to my toolbox. By no means am I a mechanic. I am just a hobbyist, but it goes without saying that we have far more conveniences at home to work on our vehicle than we do anywhere else. As you can see behind me, I've got plenty of lubricants, plenty of fluids back here. I got a workbench that I use, and then off in the corner there, I've got my tool chest that basically holds all my tools. The idea is, and I've learned over the years, that you want to bring the things that are going to be probably the most critical, and anything that is serviceable or you feel there might be a failure or something that might need a service, you want to bring the tools associated with that. And the good thing about our vehicles, with the 86s and a lot of Japanese vehicles for that matter, is that they usually use a very short assortment of sizes that you have to go from. Basically 10 mil, 12 mil, 14 mil, 17 mil, 19 mil, those generally all do the job. However, there are going to be some other components that are going to require special tools, and you may want to keep these in mind when you're working on the vehicle. So I'm going to show you a couple of tips and tricks and what I use in my own toolbox to kind of eliminate or to bring the most for the least amount of space possible. So let's have a quick. All right, guys, so this is my toolbox. It's just a Stanley Fat Max standard construction toolbox. Not super deep, waterproof, but so I'll go over. It's a 2-level system, so there's my top shelf right there. But I'll kind of go over what I pack in here. So we'll start with the bottom. At the very bottom, you can see I bring swivel sockets in an extension. Why swivel sockets? Well, because there are going to be some places that you're not going to be able to get a wrench on. And again, keeping in mind or bearing in mind what is, the most practical or you're going to get the most amount of use out of, the swivel sockets are your best bet. If you can access the bolt that you're trying to get to, terrific. You don't need a swivel socket. But in the event that you can't access it, you'll be very grateful that you brought these bad boys, and of course an extension. Then we've got our hex sockets. Those are all metric. Obviously, I have a Japanese vehicle, so that's important. I've got a hammer. I've got a measuring tape. Measuring tape, if you need to make some sort of adjustment on your suspension, that's usually why you bring that. And I bring just a few fluids, nothing crazy. So I bring active glass cleaner. So you want to keep your windows clean at all times. That's a must. I've got this really trick copper paste from Worth. So it's a spray-on copper anti-seize, which is really good stuff, especially if you're changing pads trackside or whatever, and you swap them in. And then I've got some rags. Obviously, it's important to have an assortment of rags. And then some brake clean. Again, if you have to do any sort of brake maintenance, it's always important. We've got tape, because you never know when you're gonna need to tape something down, and that's my tow hook. Beneath the tape, we've got a tire chalk or tire marker. If you don't have these, this is an old school method, using that, generally to mark your tires to see how they're wearing. It's some guys use it, some guys don't. And we'll get into some more advanced stuff. And then that black thing right there is actually a waterproof jacket. I always bring it, even in days that don't look like it's gonna rain. You never know when you're gonna get caught off guard, and it's always just handy to have a jacket. And you can fold it all up and scrunch it up, and it doesn't take a whole lot of space. Standard socket set. Now, I actually picked this up at Lowe's, of all places. It's tidy, it's small. You got the basics, you got a spark plug socket, you got a small extension, but here's the cool part, it's a 12-point set, okay? So instead of being your traditional hex set, this is a 12-point set. In the event that you get into a situation where you've got a 12-point bolt to remove, you're gonna be really grateful that you brought that. I personally haven't had to use it. However, I did help a guy at the track who was working on his Saab, and he had 12 points, and he was awfully grateful that I had the set kicking around, because everybody just had standard hex sets. And this is a metric and standard set as well. And it was really inexpensive. I think I paid like $50 for this kit. So well worth it, to use. All right, moving to the top rack. So digital tire gauge, I strongly recommend people invest in a digital one. I was using just a really crappy analog one before, but this is really good. Picked it up online. I can't remember the retailer. If I do, I'm gonna, Summit Racing, actually. Got it from Summit Racing. I think it was only like $50. So digital, it's accurate. It's got a little bleeder built into it, so you can bleed out some air when need be. All right, and then, so a tire pyrometer. So this is to check tire temp. Again, I got it from Summit Racing. If you're not familiar with a pyrometer, it's got a little probe on it that you poke the tire, and then when you poke the tire, it's gonna tell you, the temperatures, and you're gonna check the inside, middle, and outside tread depth. I'm not gonna get too deep into that because that's getting into a whole other realm of tire technology and whatnot, and I don't wanna give any bad advice, but anyways, if you know how to use one, or if you know what they're about, you know that they're handy to have. And then just my top set here, or my top shelf, I should say, in my toolbox is just an assortment of shit, literally, guys. We've got random pliers, an adjustable wrench, because you never know when you're gonna need a specific size, and you may not have it in a crescent wrench, so I bring some crescent wrenches as well, box wrenches, again, smaller pliers. We've got some small screwdrivers. We've got a pick in here too, because sometimes you need a pick. All right. Those are just my wheel centering rings. A breaker bar. A breaker bar is always important, and that always lives up here. Electrical tape, because you never know when you need to make an electrical repair. And then, of course, electrical pliers. And I do usually bring, you know, some electrical repair items like inline connectors and whatnot, just in case. Not that you're going to run into that problem very often, but you never know. And then, of course, shop rags, because sometimes, you know, you need to bring shop rags as opposed to using your rags. And then moving on, I also bring my T-handle hex key set, which is always important. I bring an electric impact, which has always been handy, especially for removing tires on the go and installing them quickly, your wheels and tires. And always make sure your battery's got a full charge, guys. It's always a good idea to bring a fresh battery with you. There's nothing worse than showing up with this guy thinking your day is going to go by real easy and convenient, and then you realize your battery's dead. Zip ties, yeah, that's a must, along with duct tape. Zip ties and duct tape. If you've raced your vehicle enough, you'll know the importance of zip ties and duct tape. So I don't recommend permanent fixes, but if you have an off, and sometimes when you have an off, maybe you might break a clip on a bumper, you're gonna be grateful you brought zip ties. And then of course, I usually bring like a quart of oil. I mean, you never know. It's always good to keep topping up your oil. Paper towel, mechanics gloves, because there's nothing worse than getting your hands all dirty and then putting them in your nice shiny race gloves, and then your race gloves are all dirty. And then of course, what I like to call the piece de resistance, probably one of the most important things, and that's of course your torque wrench. All right, torque wrench with the appropriate socket, and don't forget your lock key for your wheel lugs. That's important. So that pretty much covers everything that I bring with me in terms of my tools. I mean, I'm sure there's probably some things that I'm missing, but I get all of this stuff that I showed you here. I get all of it into this toolbox, and I'll show you in a second how neat and organized it is once it's all packed in. Voila, and there you have it. Everything packed into that toolbox. So everything I went over neatly fits in this toolbox, and it closes, and it'll shut, no problem. And it's a reasonable weight. I'd say the entire box weighs just at around 50 pounds. So again, reasonable, easy to carry, and it's not very big. It doesn't take up too much room in this beast over here. And if you're wondering, and I'm sure you probably are, what do you get into this vehicle? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I'm gonna show you next. Believe it or not, all of this, that, and my handy dandy Toyo R888s all fit into this beast. Yeah, I know, hard to believe, but I'll show you. And again, this is why I absolutely love this chassis over a roadster like a Miata or an S2000, because I can get everything in here. Drive to the track, unload, reload, drive home. Everything in here. All right, guys, so that's a wrap. I've got the car all loaded up. You can't see from here, but I can assure you everything is in there that I explained in the video. We got this car packed with room to spare, I may add. As you can see here, I still have room even to take a passenger. Yep, and in doing so, I have discovered a little friendly helper in my garage with me. That's right. It's a dry toad. Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my sunshine girl. This is gross. Anyway, my sister's laughing. Because we found a dried ass toad. It's gross. It's pretty gross in my garage. And I'm sure this is a delicacy somewhere if we just put some chocolate on it. Anyways, as always, guys, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and please feel free to comment. Be kind, and if you're not kind, well, cool. I'm good with it too. And so this is John. Peace out. Toad, peace out. Nina, peace out.